Hello, everyone. My name is Yanina Velikova, and I work as a performance marketing manager in this great company indeed, Admiral Media. In today's session, we're going to discuss different successful strategies on Apple search ads. Some you might have heard of, others not. Either way, I hope you find some useful tips on how to improve and grow your ASA activities. There's going to be an interactive Q&A session in the end, of course, but please feel free to interrupt me, raise your hand. I would be more than happy to answer to any of your questions, or if you have any other examples that you would like to share, please do so. Okay, so I would assume that most of you are familiar with the account structure and the best practices, but let's cover the basics for those of you who are not that aware of it. So we have 4 main campaigns: brand, generic, competitor, and discovery. In the first 3, we have only exact match keywords, and in the discovery campaign, we have broad match and search match ad groups. I would say that the campaign names are quite straightforward, so I'm not going to dive into them too much, but something that I would advise you to remember here is to mine your discovery campaign regularly. So the keywords that you're going to see in the search term section, the relevant ones and the good performing, add them to one of the other 3 exact campaigns. And the ones that are not relevant or not performing well, just add them as negative in the discovery campaign. That's something that I would advise you to do because it's going to help the algorithm keep learning, so it can generate better keywords for you in the future. Oh, and this structure is actually great, and we have seen success using it not only for apps of different kinds, but also for different gaming apps. So it's like applicable for all of them. And it's great for budget allocation because you can decide, it's up to you to decide how much you would like to spend on brands, how much you would like to spend on competition, for example. And now moving to a different strategy here in terms of campaigns. Let's say that your app is available in 1, 5, or even 10 countries. I would advise you to stick to the 1 country per campaign strategy. But if your app is available worldwide and you would like to target 25 countries, let's say, that would make around 100 campaigns, and I can assure you that 100 campaigns are not easy to manage on Apple Search. So my suggestion here to group those countries, but group them in a logical way, of course. You can use that by, you can group them by time zone, by language, by performance, if you have any past data on other channels, for example, that you can use. But let's say that you don't have any. You can combine Scandinavian countries, for example, or LATAM. And if you're targeting French-speaking markets and you have Switzerland, Belgium, and Canada, I would advise you not to put them in 1 campaign, or at least it didn't work well for me last time, because when the day starts in Canada way earlier than in Europe, so you need to put a very high daily budget, so there is enough budget left for the European markets too. So I would basically advise you to stick to separate continents together, not to put them together, but separate them. Another great thing that you can try, if you haven't already, in order to expand your markets on Apple Search, is to experiment with worldwide campaigns. What you need to know here is that Apple Search has this very, very cool graph that you can see. It is in the chart section, and it shows you the performance per each country. The metrics that I'm usually checking there are spend, conversion rate, and cost per install. And from my experience, if a country has a low conversion rate, and by low I would say anything below 30–25%, it's very often the one that I would exclude the first, because even on the MMP data, because of course we're going to cross-check it with the MMP performance, the countries that had the lowest conversion rate were also the ones that were more expensive and weren't the best potential ones. It's better to exclude them because then you'll be able to spend more on the other better performing markets. And now moving to some ad structure examples. So let's say that you are very much aware of your app users. If you know that their performance, the user behavior between devices, iPad and iPhone, or between genders like men and women vary, then I would advise you to keep the ad groups separated, 1 per iPhone and iPad and 1 for women or men. However, if there are no significant differences between the performance, then definitely don't use any audience refinements, because that can only harm scaling on Apple Search, and we know that's a struggle for many of us. Another good structure that you can try on is by dividing your app features or categories or content in different ad groups on a certain campaign. And the example that I included is an absolutely real example of a meditation app. So this is a generic campaign, and we have ad groups for meditation, relaxation, breathing, sleeping, etc. This structure is a very solid base for custom product pages, which we will discuss later on. The last suggestion that I'm going to share with you today is regarding your top performing keywords. We all have some keywords that are the best performers, that we have seen every month that they're driving the revenue or that they're having the lowest cost per install. So sometimes it's good to separate them in a different ad group or campaign. Depends if you would like to have a separate budget, daily budget on it, or no. I usually choose to divide them in an ad group because it's a bit easier to manage. And now moving to a very interesting topic on how to treat problematic keywords. But before we move forward with that, we need to define what a problematic keyword actually is. So is there any of you who would like to share, who has any experience with Apple Search Ads and would like to share what is a problematic keyword to them? Okay, yes. Yeah, perfect. Anyone else? Okay, yeah. Yes, perfect. Thank you so much for participating. Yeah. Yes, yeah, that's a good one as well. Yeah, you need to be careful with those. Thank you. So yes, let's start with the first. I have them in two types because this is the way that I categorize them, but it doesn't matter. They're all problematic in the end of the day. So the first ones are the keywords that are not meeting the KPI goals. So let's say that you're using some keywords that are super relevant for your app. And you don't want to remove them because they're relevant, they have search volume. You need to have them in the campaigns. But then the ROAS is too little or the cost per install is too high, so they're just not performing well. The recommendation that I'm hearing most often is reduce the bids. But this is not really helping, is it? So what I do is that I get those keywords and separate them in a different ad group where I add a CPA goal. You should feel comfortable with the CPA goal that you're adding to the ad group, but also be realistic, because if, let's say that your average cost per install on Apple Search is around €4, and you put a CPA goal of 2 or 3, then this ad group is more likely not going to serve. I would advise you, for example, to put a CPA goal of 5. From my experience on Apple Search, usually the ad group, like the CPA goal when we add it, the ad group, it's not exceeding the set CPA goal, the bid cap that we're having, if the spend is enough and if the keywords are actually having high search volume. If the spend is little and you have 1 or 2 installs, of course, they could be above that number. And of course, you can play around with the CPA goal, with the bids that you have in this ad group, based on the performance that you're seeing on both Apple Search and the MMP. And now moving to this example, which is exactly what I just told you about, is an example of a performance improvement of those 2 keywords that you can see. Let me use the laser finally. So we have the broad match ad group, as you can see, and we have those 2 keywords, tarot card reading and psychic chat. That was very important for the client, but for whatever reason, they weren't generating almost any ROAS on day 30. And for this app, the KPI was ROAS day 30, 50%. So as you can see, the performance was terrible. So my options here, of course, reducing the bids didn't help. So my options here were either to pause them or to try to find a different solution. So what I decided to do is to create on 13th of June, as you can see, this CPA Go ad group, only with those 2 keywords. And the results are pretty clear. We see that the cost per install, obviously, is more than 50% lower than the one that we were seeing. But the most important part is that I hope that you see that, but the numbers are super good. We see 32% and 68%, which is such a big growth. And as a result of that, instead of pausing those important keywords, we ended up in increasing the bids and the spend. And you can see that both screenshots are taking at 30 days of view. So you can see that the spend here is actually higher because we were started seeing good results. So why not? So this could be good for scaling. And now moving to the second type of problematic keywords, let's say, those with no impressions. And although nobody mentioned those, I would say that maybe most of you have them. Just keywords that are sitting there, nothing is happening, just being in the campaign. There are several ways to handle them, but we need to understand the reason behind the lack of impressions first. The first thing that you need to consider is if your account is set up correctly. So if your daily budget of a campaign is 20 euro and you have 100 keywords, of course, not all of them would be able to get impressions. So you need to have a high daily budget for the keywords that you have in the campaign. You need to make sure that you haven't added them as negative, that's 100% by accident. And for the low CPA goal, I already mentioned it. If we say that everything here is covered, then we can move to the second reason, which is the most obvious one. The CPT bid is too low. The solution is quite obvious as well. We need to increase it. However, just increase it once will probably not going to help. So what I'm doing is I'm taking those keywords with no impressions and I'm increasing the bids every week for maybe 6-7 weeks in a row. And then I promise you that some of those are going to start seeing spend, impressions for sure, hopefully spend, installs, and so on. However, the other part are still not going to get any impressions, and this is going to be because they have low search volume. And for those who have the keywords that don't have enough search volume, there is not much that we can do because we're absolutely dependent on the search volume on Apple Search. What I do with them is that I keep them active with high bids. So whenever users searches for them, no matter how rarely that happens, they're going to see our ad first. The last reason is the low technical relevance one. And it actually applies for both type of problematic keywords, because there are two ways to look at the technical relevance. If, let's say, let's keep the example for the meditation app. I'm adding keywords like Pokemon Go or like Clash of Clans or Candy Crush. We had this example in the morning. I'm not relevant at all for them. So the platform realizes that, and they're not gonna give me any shares of their impressions. However, if I'm, again, meditation app, but I'm interested in yoga keywords, yes, I'm not offering yoga classes, but we all know that yoga and meditation are somehow connected. So what we can do with them is that we can create a custom product page that is tailored exactly to those users who are interested in yoga. And test it again. So hopefully that would get impressions and also spend and in-app events. And now moving to my favorite topic, why custom product pages are a game changer in Apple Search Ads campaigns. But before we move with it, I would like to see how many of you have tested custom product pages before. Please, hands up. Okay, maybe 30-40%, let's say. Okay, that's good to know because other slides depend on it. So let me cover, sorry guys for those of you who are already aware, but let me still cover this part. So custom product pages are basically like landing pages of a website, but on the App Store. With them, you can divide your audiences into different user groups, and then you can tailor them with personalized creatives that are exactly towards them, that are personalized towards them, instead of treating all of your potential users as one group and trying to convert them with generic messaging, which was what happened before. So what you can customize there are the screenshots, app review videos, and the promo text. You can create up to 35 custom product pages per app. You need to submit them for app review on App Store Connect, but app release is, thank God, not required. They're available for iOS 15 or later users, and they're not accessible to users searching organically. And the most important one that we're going to cover in more details is that we can use them to create ad variations in Apple Search Ads. So what you can expect. The benefit for users is quite straightforward. They're getting a more personalized customer journey. But what does that bring to us, the marketers? With a more customized user acquisition journey, means that probably those customers are going to find your custom ad, your product page, more relevant than your default ad, which often results in higher conversion rate and lower cost per install. The numbers that you can see on the right, oh, not this right. The numbers that you can see on the right are numbers on average that I have calculated from all of the custom product pages that I have tested for apps of different categories. So these are average numbers. The results might be way more impressive and also not that much. We mentioned a bit about scaling and that it's hard to do on Apple Search. It's one of the biggest challenges. So with higher conversion rate and lower cost per install, the performance of your top keywords will improve, and that will let you bid more and earn a higher impression share than the competition. Another opportunity for marketers is the next one. You can win over users you may have lost in the past when your custom product page, when your default page didn't convey the message that they were looking for. I'm going to give you a quick example here. You can create a campaign or ad group for returning users only. And you can create a custom product page that is showing your newest promotions, offers, discounts, whatever you have from a recent period of time. So those past users haven't seen it before. And I can guarantee you that you're going to get some redownloads back. The last opportunity that we're going to discuss is that custom product pages can help you improve budget allocation. This is because we can measure each custom product page lower funnel events, such as retention data and proceeds. So we can understand which audiences are worth investing more on and vice versa. You might be underestimating some app features that have better potential than you think. And now I would like to share with you a recent example with collaboration with ImmoScout. These are two custom product pages. ImmoScout is a real estate app, so they have offerings for both renting and buying a property. So we have these custom product pages tailored per each user segment. We have added them to all campaigns to brand, generic, discovery, and competitors, but I'm going to present to you today the data, the results that we're seeing in the generic campaign, in the relevant ad groups to those custom product pages. The results are they're just amazing so far. I'm super happy with them. We are seeing lower conversion, we are seeing lower cost per install, as you can see, again, more than 50%, a slightly higher conversion rate, and also the cost per click, you can see it's much lower. And then the second one is the renting one. Again, the positive trend in terms of cost per install and cost per click. But the impressive here is the conversion rate. As you can see, it's 20% higher. The custom product pages are really, as I mentioned, the example is recent, so they're really new, and this information is from, I think, around 2 weeks, 3 weeks time period. So we expect to get even better results with the time. But how to measure the success of custom product pages? Has anyone here using App Store Connect for custom product pages when analyzing the... Oh, okay, we have a few hands, but not many. Okay, so I would be then very happy to share you how I'm using it, and I can assure you that it's super, super useful for that. On MMPs, we don't have the information yet. We have only ad group and keyword section. So what we can do from the MMP side is that we can check the performance before and after a certain custom product page was launched, but that's it. For further analysis, we need the App Store Connect, and you need marketing or financial raw access in order to be able to see those numbers here. So then you go to your app and go to the App Analytics section. Under the Acquisition tab right here, you're going to see product page downloads, conversion rate, retention data, and proceeds to determine each page effectiveness. Moreover, you can compare the performance of different pages and see whether users who installed your app from a certain product page stayed engaged longer or spent more on in-app purchases. In addition, there is a very cool feature, ad filter, as you can see on the top, which you can use, and you can filter by device or region, so it can be helpful for more granular analysis. I usually use the filter by device if the app has a significant user base on iPad, because iPad and iPhone users tend to have slightly different behavior. So the results of the custom product page might also vary. The filter by region, you need to use if you have a custom product, if you're using the same custom product page for US, UK, Canada, etc. Because if you don't filter the region, then you're just going to see the cumulative results of all of the countries together. So what do we need to do in order to make custom product pages work for us? The first thing is to do your homework. So start with research and segment your users into different audience groups. Then you need to dive into understanding each audience group intent for installing, subscribing, purchasing your app. After you know this information, then you can move forward with designing your custom product pages, highlighting those benefits that the users will be looking for. Once you have the metadata, you add it to the custom product, you add them to the Apple Search Ads campaigns and closely monitor their performance. Last but not least, if we want to test different creatives and messaging for the same user group, then we need to, as everything else in marketing, test that. The interesting point is that currently on Apple, we can only, the custom product page is added on the ad group level, and we can only test one custom product page at a time, meaning that you need to pause one if you want to launch another. The workaround that I'm currently doing is by testing custom product page 1 for 2-3 weeks, then pausing it, and then testing the second one for the same time period. Of course, I keep an eye on the spend as well, because it makes sense to compare the performance only if we're seeing like similar spend. Concluding custom product pages and moving to custom reports. Let's see hands up for people who are using reports on the Apple Search Ads. Barely any, yeah, around 5 people, maybe 6. So I noticed that not many people are taking advantage of them, which is why I decided to share with you a few useful maybe tips that you can take a look at. So I'm going to discuss more the impression share reports because the others are not that interesting, but the impression share, I would say, are very useful. This is the section, the screenshot of the section on Apple Search, and there are 2 types of impression share reports, a weekly one and a daily one. If you would like to see and to follow on long-term trends, I would advise you to check the weekly impression share. And if you want to follow on a small change that you made, or on a certain date, like a smaller date range, then the daily one is the better choice for you. I usually check the weekly search term impression share report every 2 or 4 weeks, depends on the account spent. Yeah, they're very good if you have, for example, dramatical decrease in spend, let's say, or if a keyword started being super expensive and seeing very weird behavior for no reason, then you better add them as metrics here, because you can understand how the trends are going. These 2 screenshots are taken from the report after it's downloaded, and the most important sections that you should look at, apart from the impression share percentage, are the rank and search popularity. They can help you identify which keywords actually have more potential to grow and which ones are actually on a very good place, so there is nothing that you need to do about them. For example, if you're ranking first, you have like a first rank, but then your impression share is 61-70%. It's far from 100, but you're ranking first. Then there is no need to increase your bids. If you're ambitious and if you're interested in getting 100% impression share for your brand terms, for example, then you can, of course, aim for 91 to 100% impression share, and you can easily check it on this report on a daily basis. Moving to search tab campaigns. I'm not going to ask who has tested search tab, because I'm going to again assume that probably not that many of you, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that search tab is a bit controversial. I have seen good results, I have seen awful results, and I'm pretty sure that we all have like examples of both. So I'm going to share with you what works for me. It might not work for everyone, but I would definitely give it a try. The first and most important thing that I think we all need to understand for displacement is that it's not comparable to search results campaigns. The reason for it is because search results are already like targeting users in the lower part of the funnel. They're already expressing interest and they're showing desire to download an app like yours. But the search tab campaigns are not like that. They're more like brand awareness campaign. They're targeting the user in the upper part of the funnel. So that's why I think we need to have different KPIs when we are looking at them. Because if we have to compare them to the others, probably the search results are always going to win. That's why they work great for apps that are very popular, because they already have a strong brand name and people recognize it, so it's not going to be like completely new brand awareness. People already are aware of those brands. They're perfect for scaling because some campaigns might get at the maximum of their capacity from the search results ones. Or the seasonality could be super low at the moment for you, but you would like to spend more on this channel, then you can definitely explore those options. And although the audience refinements are not recommended in the search results campaign, here there actually are, and I have seen much better success if I'm, for example, dividing again women or men, or like by device, whatever is the better performing audience for your app. So you better use them. And the final one is the one that I'm definitely recommending to everyone to try out, because now I have search tab campaigns with ad group only for returning users in at least 5 or 6 different apps. So it is working quite well for different category of apps, and I would advise you to give it a go. It makes sense to be working better for returning users because, again, they already are aware of you, and this could be a reminder to them, like, oh, like, why don't you like try this app again, instead of being, again, completely like new brand awareness. And now is the time to discuss the new ASA placements that Apple recently announced. We have two of those. The first one is You Might Also Like, and you can see it in the end of each app product page. It's going to look like that. It's going to be a separate campaign option when you're creating a new campaign. It's going to have a separate option. And it's, again, going to use the CPT pricing model, meaning that you only pay when a user clicks on your ad. You're not going to need any creatives or copy, so you're going to have no excuse not to test it, because it's going to be super, super easy to set up, as you can see. But what's interesting here is that you cannot target specific apps, but you might be able to target certain categories. Let me say that this information is not confirmed. Yeah, I received it, but I'm not 100% sure about it. But I think it will be great if we can test different categories, because if you're in health and fitness, let's say, you can choose to appear in the same category, and then you can create a separate ad group targeting another category, and you can analyze and compare the results. A competitor ad might appear on your product page, and your ad can appear on theirs. There is no way that we're going to be able to exclude that. I asked exclusively, but no. The second one, the Today tab, is the one that I'm more excited about. It's, again, a separate placement option, again, using the CPT pricing model, but it's going to have ad creatives, and these ad creatives are going to be based on custom product pages. Each custom product page should include at least 4 portrait or 5 landscape images. And the big difference here, compared to the custom product pages that we have now, is that you're going to need 2 approvals, not only from the App Store Connect, but also from Apple Search Ads. So I'm not sure how exactly this is going to work, but I guess that we're going to find soon. I assume that some of you might ask, there is no certain release date for those features. But what I know is that they're going to be live between Black Friday and Christmas. Hopefully, yes, the sooner the better. We're approaching the final part of the session, so I would be happy to respond to any of your questions. It's okay. Yep, just because I need to do my steps as well, so I asked Louis to keep it here.
I have a question regarding custom product page.
Yep.
So in our past experience, whenever we set demographic targeting like gender or age, our CPN of that ad group or that campaign will just raise suddenly. So it means if we want to add a custom product page, the conversion rate of that custom product page need to be way better than the default. So I wonder whether you have some example, successful case, or just from the audience that really works for gender or age targeting.
Yes. Yeah, that's a very good one. Thank you. Maybe keep it for now, so we don't create a reaction here. I have an example for a health and fitness, like a fasting app, which has a stronger user base for women. So we have custom product pages targeting women and custom product pages targeting men, showcasing women, men, how their body is improved and everything. And before me, I saw that they tested those custom product pages without any audience refinements, and they didn't see any success, and they were like, oh, custom product pages don't work. And I was like, yeah, but you didn't actually target them to the users who would be interested in. So I created like separate ad groups for women, for men, and added them, and this improved the custom product page performance, like of the whole custom product pages, not only on the ad group or campaign. So it worked very well. And we were comparing the data on App Store Connect as well. So we were seeing higher conversion rates, which is absolutely logical because we were using the right audience for those people, for those custom product pages. So yes, I have seen good success with it. If you want to maybe tell me more about your app, we can afterwards discuss it, and maybe I can share some suggestions that hopefully will help. Yep. Yes.
In terms of practice, like, did you move them to another ad group and then you applied more budget over there, or you applied just budgets per keyword in such a scenario?
I got it. Thank you for the question. I've never created a separate ad group for them, because if they're having low impressions and they're not like really serving, then they're not that important for me at this point, because I have like better servers than there. But I'm just increasing the bids. Like, this is all that I do. I'm increasing the bids regularly every week for a longer time period. And then if some of them will start serving, which will be great, and some of the others could be from the other types. They could just have a very low search volume or other stuff that we don't have the power to change.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have a question regarding the retargeting using the search tab, because if you have any recommendation or best practices, because overall the search tab is the campaign that performs the worst for us. So I'm just wondering, okay, if I go with retargeting, should I focus the efforts on creating a custom page, or I don't know if there's anything that you could recommend. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. The search tab doesn't offer custom product pages, unfortunately. We might be able to test it with the Today tab, which I assume is going to be similar in performance to the search tab one. But yes, the thing that you can do there is literally play around with the audience refinements. The bids, of course, you know that, you can play around with them as well, but I would say the audience refinements are the key. That's why I'm recommending returning users, because I have seen success for different apps. I hope that this can work for you as well. Great. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, guys. He's a bit closer, but I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, if you would launch a brand new app where you don't have any keyword ranking data, or also the algorithm doesn't have any data, would you use Apple Search Ads in the first place, or wait like 1 or 2 weeks, or how would be your strategy for a launch of an app?
I loved it. That was a very good one. I haven't thought about it. Okay, let me think about it. It's a new app, and you're launching the app itself, and you want to start with Apple Search as well. Then maybe I will first allocate more money to the discovery campaign, because apparently brand campaign, it's probably not going to generate anything. I always recommend to have 4 of them, even if some of them are with small budget, because you never know like what's going to happen. And it's a very good way to also follow when your brand starts picking up and some searches appear for your brand from other channels, let's say, because people saw it somewhere else and they recalled later. So I would definitely start with discovery and with competitors campaign as well, because maybe some of your competitors are already on Apple Search and you can start stealing some of their impressions. In terms of keywords, I don't know if you asked me regarding the keyword research or no, sorry, or no.
if you have like a new app and you don't get any downloads for keywords, you don't really rank on the search ads as well because they think you are not relevant yet because they need some data first.
Yes.
Yeah.
What you can do is also, for me, it's recommended. We had an ASO expert here, so she might be able to help more. I always use the metadata keywords that we have in the App Store, the organic ones. I always put them in the campaigns, and especially if I'm starting from scratch on Apple Search, I always do that because we already have some ranking and something happening organically. So maybe that would be a good way to double that, you know, using the metadata keywords so they can, it can improve the ranking, basically. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm gonna come for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a question around the custom product pages in that sense. So I always understood that all iOS 15 users would automatically be redirected towards the custom product page. So could you then even compare the default page with the custom product page performance as they have the newer users allocated to it with the higher grade mobile phones in that sense?
Yes, yeah. It's not all iOS 15 users are
Okay.
that going to see the custom product page. It's just the users who are iOS like 14 or like, yes, the below ones, they're not going to be able to see it. So they're always going to see the default one. But some of iOS 15 users might also see the default one as well. What Apple does is that it doesn't split the budget in the ad group, like, let's say 50-50. It allocates more money to the better performer. But we're not sure if like some of the iOS 15 users are not seeing the default ad.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Maybe you can pass the mic. Yes.
I had two questions. One in regards to the search tab campaigns.
Yes.
Have you seen any improvement in results there since they moved to CPT bidding?
Oh, that's a good one. For some clients I have seen, but for others I have seen actually worse results. And my hypothesis here is that because many people were disappointed from search tab, so they weren't using them at all. And then they were like, oh, we're moving to CPT pricing, test it again, try it again. And there was such a high, like there was a vibe, and many people like started trying it again exactly at that time. And I had like very good working CPM campaigns, so they were post and they started from scratch, and the performance wasn't the same. So for some clients it works better, but for some I'm a bit disappointed because we were already, you know, achieving something, and because of the high competitor pressure and like the vibe is still happening. I guess that's why this is my assumption. If you have any other, what have you seen?
I mean, I was one of the people that like tested search tab once and then was
Oh,
like,
okay.
I'm never going to do it again. So I was wondering if it's worth checking out again, basically.
Check it out with the returning users, please. If you're,
Yeah,
of
that's
course,
a good one. I like that.
Yeah, happy to hear it. Let me know how it goes.
And then second question in regard to brand search campaigns. How do you tackle the question of incrementality with your clients? I mean, everyone is always asking, like, do I need to bid on my brand name, or am I going to get that traffic anyways?
Yeah.
And then it requires some sophisticated testing and data analytics to find out, like, how do you tackle it?
I like this one. I have several approaches here. The first one is that usually I prefer with clients to have a set budget for brand protection, let's say. So they don't complain, so they're fine with it, whatever they decide, it doesn't mind, just to have the brand campaign there, not to be paused, because some people were saying, yeah, what you mentioned, we're gonna get them anyway, don't do it. The other thing that I'm checking out, and you can use, for example, tools like Sensor Tower or AppTweak as well to see the brands that are also the companies that are bidding on your brand. I think this is a very powerful one to use because you're showing them, look, your competitor is stealing, your competitor is like getting some of your downloads by accident. So this is another way of convincing them. And I have my favorite. I searched for the brand term on my phone, and then the competitor ad appeared, and I just screenshotted it and sent it to them, and they were like, "Oh no! Like, what is happening? Like, we cannot even see us. We are like way below." So this was also something that convinced them. But usually these are the tricks. Maybe now that I'm thinking out loud, maybe you can use the reports as well to see how your impression share is going and if you're ranking first. Because you can be like, look, we're not getting the impression share, but we are first, that's great. But for some brand keywords, because it's never like 100% for all of your brand keywords, So for some of them, you might show them, look, we are like getting a low impression share, and then we're not even ranking first, we're like third, which is like not acceptable. So yeah, these are a few suggestions how I would tackle that.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for the nice questions. Yep.
I just wondered about the Emo Scout example. You said it had a 20% improvement. I can't remember the metric on the custom product page, and I wondered what it was about that page, because I couldn't really tell from looking what it was that you think made that more successful, that page.
Okay, for the Emo Scout example,
Yeah.
yes, I get it. So basically, I think that what helped is that we designed a very good custom product pages that are specially designed, like one of them for people looking for rent, and the other looking for rent, and the other looking to buy a property. So these are two very distinctive audiences. And we have added those custom product pages to ad groups that have, for example, one of them is like, rent a flat, like Wohnung, the German keywords as well. And the other one was the opposite. It was like buying a property, buying a house, buying a flat, whatever. So we were literally on the right place at the right time with the right keywords. So I think this is key here, because you can play around with the ad groups. Like we mentioned the structure, separating the different app features or categories or whatever. And then you put exactly like the custom product page that is going to appeal to those users.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Great. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a very general question. So normally I've used Apple Search Ads before, and it wasn't too successful, and I'm working in a gaming company, so bear that in mind. The one problem I realize is that whenever you bid on a keyword that is related to your app or your users, they're super competitive keywords, so you have to bid higher. But the problem is, okay, you might get some impressions or installs, but the return on investment is super low. And then you have keywords, like you mentioned in your presentation, that have 0 impression, and sometimes they do bring something, but they're not worth anything. So like, I usually ended up having like 2 opposite poles, where either I pay a lot and get nothing in return, or I pay nothing and get nothing in return.
That's the worst.
Do you have a suggestion for, I think, to be honest, like, I feel like ASA is a bit more tricky for games.
I agree.
So I do have, I've came to the campaigns with a bit of a suspicion regardless of that, but it didn't work out. So I was just wondering if you have any kind of an advice you usually give for gaming companies where they do not want to spend a lot, or they do want to spend a lot, but at least have a good return on investment,
Can I ask you one additional question before we move forward? Were you targeting one country or multiple countries in one campaign?
I was targeting 2 countries in 2 different campaigns.
So one country per campaign?
Yep.
Okay, great, yeah. Because
they were both separate countries, and I did like different language options as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Do you remember how many keywords did you have?
Well, I had 4 ad groups, like discovery, generic, competitor, brand. So in each, it was like approximately, let's say, from 20 to 100 even. Some of them were a lot, but like, so brand doesn't work too much, because if you, not a lot of people might know unless you're a big gaming company, but generic is a bit more crowded than normal, so it was like 100 there, but competitor is like 20, 30 keywords.
Okay, and because you mentioned that you had 2 campaigns, but we had 4 ad groups, this means that you had the discovery ad group, like a search match ad group, together in this campaign.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise you to do that, because how did you then add the keywords as negative?
For each campaign, I had a discovery campaign.
So you didn't have 2 campaigns, you had 8 campaigns, or no?
No. Like one campaign for, let's say, Brazil, and one campaign for Mexico. And each of these campaigns had one ad group that were search match on.
Yes, yeah. This is something that I would avoid, because what you can do is that you can combine the exact ad groups together. Discovery, competitors, brand, and generic, they can be combined in one campaign in separate ad groups. But what is not good to have, the search match and the discovery part in the exact campaign. Because this campaign should be targeting only exact keywords, and then you need to have all of those exact in the discovery campaign as exact negative. Because
Yeah, that's what I did as well. Like I negativated those keywords in the.
it's just in the ad group.
Yeah, it just makes a bit your work a bit longer, maybe. But
Okay,
like
yeah. Okay.
they were not
Okay.
like clashing with each other, basically.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so what I would do, because I have a gaming case as well, I would try the CPA thing for the keywords that have some revenue, but not, for example, your desired ROAS. I would like put them in a separate ad group, put a CPA goal, again, that you're feeling okay with, and then see if you're not gonna get not only the CPA down, but also the ROAS like higher, as we saw in the example that I showed you with the tarot and psychic stuff. So I would advise you to test that maybe. Another thing to bear in mind is that, for example, the keywords. If you're seeing that those keywords are not working for whatever reason, then you need to keep searching for more. And I think this is a very good advice for everyone. I add new keywords every month to every app, every campaign. I'm trying to research all the time to find new keywords to test, because you never know if you're not going to find a better one out there. And if you're working with any ASA reps, they provide a very good trending term report with the trending terms that are for this month, the ones that are getting the highest search volume. And sometimes they're the same, of course, like the biggest brands are always going to be there, but sometimes you might be able to find some smaller keywords that could work well for you. So maybe, I hope this could maybe help.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. I don't know if we have time, no? Oh. 2 more questions, okay. Oh, you have 4 questions? No.
Later. I propose what my peer over there asked about, like how difficult ASA is proving to be for games. And this is, again, from a super limited experience, because I've only done one discovery campaign just to see how it will work. For us, it didn't, for the reason that, of course, we gave a very limited, very tiny budget. But in the end, when I got all the reports from like internally and from ASA, I got the impression that ASA is way too cutthroat for gaming products, for gaming apps. What is your take on that? Is it cutthroat? Do you really have to pay like $90, $100 CPTs to get to what was it, top 5 or something?
100 CPT sounds like a big one indeed. I haven't seen that before, to be honest. But again, what you can do here is try the CPA goal, because you can bid cap it, and then it's not going to it's not going to get those numbers, even if it wanted to, because you already put the cap. As you mentioned, you haven't tested that much, so I think you still can experiment with tiny budgets, but also with maybe not that popular keywords. You're right that the competitor pressure is high. The seasonality also depends, because, for example, in the summer it's usually not that great for gaming. So these are all factors that we need to consider. But there are going to be some keywords that could be able to help you there. And maybe also the search tab could also work well. You need to just test and experiment and see what works for you. But I've worked with some gaming brands, and there are some campaigns and keywords that are beneficial for them. Some are super hard to get to. Some markets as well are very hard to crack. But there are other markets that work good, and usually gaming apps are available worldwide, so maybe the country is also something that you can play with.
Yeah. And also one other question, you can just take it out. So you mentioned that when you're starting for, I think it was about a new game, so when you're starting ASA campaigns, you're using the keywords that you rank organically, let's call it,
yes.
for.
Yep.
You use them to start your campaigns, but does it do any cannibalization, and has it had any cannibalization in your case?
Can you repeat the last part?
If you've experienced any cannibalization in that specific case, if you were talking about a specific case, or just ever in general?
I think it's very hard to prove if there is a cannibalization because there is not like a certain way that we can measure it and say, yes, like these keywords cannibalize the organic ones or vice versa. So what the best thing that can happen is that the Apple search ones are going to complement them. And what we usually see is that we're seeing a higher organic, the organic keywords are also performing better and the organic installs are also increasing if we have those keywords inside. So that's why I would recommend to have them. And in the end of the day, you want to like have a good campaign. You want to have good ROAS. So I would suggest you to try first with them, and after you find some others that could also be good, then you can maybe pause those if you believe that they're cannibalizing or that organic will be enough. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So maybe yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.